What if Kratos came into Star Wars? Across the vastness of space, something ancient and terrible has awakened. The dark side trembles as a stranger walks the obsidian fields of Mustafar, his pale skin marked with the history of gods he has slain. Imperial officers whisper of impossible strength, of weapons that burn with vengeful fire, of a warrior who broke free from Vader's Force grip as if it were nothing. The Emperor himself has felt this disturbance, a power neither Jedi nor Sith, but something older, something that has toppled entire pantheons. In a galaxy ruled by those who fashion themselves as gods, what happens when a god-killer arrives? The magma seas of Mustafar churned beneath skies of ash and cinder. Imperial mining facilities dotted the hellscape, metal sentinels extracting resources from the tortured world, while automated sentries maintained their silent vigil. A storm of unusual energy had been detected in the southern hemisphere, prompting the facility's supervisor to dispatch a squad of stormtroopers to investigate. None returned. The Dark Lord of the Sith would arrive within hours to personally assess the anomaly, and failure would not be tolerated. Through the rivers of molten rock and fields of obsidian, a figure moved with purpose. Muscular and pale, marked with a crimson tattoo that curved from his left eye down his torso. Blood and soot caked his bare chest and arms. The stranger carried weapons unlike any seen in the galaxy, curved blades attached to chains that had coiled around his forearms, their edges glowing with an unnatural heat that resonated with the volcanic landscape. Behind him lay the broken bodies of white-armored soldiers, their armor split and shattered by overwhelming force. Kratos, the ghost of Sparta, had awoken on this burning world with the screams of his past still echoing in his mind. Gods he had slain, family he had lost, a cycle of vengeance that had consumed worlds. Now he stood in a realm beyond his, understanding, yet familiar in its suffering. He had felt the presence of power here, of beings who fashioned themselves as gods. And where there were gods, there would be chains. Where there were chains, he would bring freedom through destruction. The ground trembled beneath his feet as an Imperial shuttle descended from orbit, its wings folding upward as it settled on a landing platform overlooking the mining facility. Steam hissed from hydraulic systems as the ramp lowered, and a sound emerged that Kratos recognized instantly. The mechanical rhythm of breath, controlled and measured, the sound of life sustained by artifice rather than nature. The sound of a being caught between mortality and godhood. Darth Vader emerged from the shuttle, his cape billowing in the superheated winds of Mustafar. This was not his first time returning to this world of fire and pain, though he rarely chose to revisit the site of his greatest defeat and transformation. The disturbance in the Force had pulled him here, a presence both alien and somehow resonant with the dark side. Not Jedi, not Sith, yet powerful beyond mortal constraint. The Emperor would want this power identified, contained, and either subjugated or destroyed. Kratos watched from the shadows of a rock formation as the black-armored figure surveyed the bodies of the fallen troops. He sensed something in this one, a kindred rage, a similar pain, a being remade by fire, just as he had been. But there was something else. A cosmic energy that flowed through him, similar to the power Kratos had encountered in the gods, yet different. It did not stem from the essence of a specific domain like the oceans or the underworld, but rather from existence itself. Vader extended his hand, and one of the stormtrooper helmets rose from the ground, turning slowly as he examined the damage. A clean strike, powerful enough to shear through the reinforced material, not a lightsaber wound. He dropped the helmet and turned his masked visage toward the exact position where Kratos concealed himself. Your presence betrays you, stranger. You are not of this world, yet you have entered the domain of the Empire. Surrender now, and the Emperor may show mercy. Kratos stepped from the shadows, his golden eyes fixed on the masked figure. I know nothing of your empire or your emperor. I know only that I sense the hand of gods in this place, and where gods rule, there is tyranny. Vader ignited his lightsaber, the crimson blade humming with deadly energy. Then you will learn submission through pain, as all enemies of the Empire do. The air between them seemed to vibrate with tension as two beings forged in suffering measured each other. Both understood the language of power, of domination, of rage channeled into strength. Both carried the weight of terrible choices and lost humanity. Both had been remade as weapons. "I have toppled gods and titans," Kratos declared, uncoiling the blades of chaos from his arms. "Your sorcery does not frighten me." Vader raised his lightsaber. "The power of the Force is not sorcery. It is the fundamental energy of all life, and in the dark side, I have found strength beyond imagination." Kratos spun the blades by their chains, their fiery essence leaving trails in the air. "Then show me this power, masked one. Show me if your Force can stand against a god of war." Vader struck first, his lightsaber arcing through the air with impossible speed. Kratos brought his blades up in a defensive cross, the weapons clashing in a shower of sparks and energy. The impact sent tremors through the volcanic ground, small fissures opening around their feet as power met power. The Dark Lord pressed forward, his mechanical strength augmented by the dark side, each strike precise and calculated. Kratos met him blow for blow, the chains of his blades extending and retracting with fluid grace that belied his muscular frame. Each impact released bursts of energy that scattered the nearby stormtroopers who had formed a perimeter around the duel. "Your weapons resist my lightsaber," Vader observed as they locked blades again. "Impossible." Kratos pushed back with his godly strength, forcing the Sith Lord to slide backward across the obsidian surface. "They were forged to kill gods. Your laser sword is nothing." Vader extended his hand, and Kratos felt an invisible force grip his throat, lifting him from the ground. The sensation was familiar, reminiscent of Zeus and his lightning, of godly power exerted through will alone, but Kratos had broken such holds before. He roared in defiance, focusing his rage against the unseen bonds. To Vader's shock, the pale warrior not only resisted the force choke but shattered it, dropping back to the ground with weapons ready. No being had ever simply broken his force grip through physical strength alone. This confirmed what he had sensed, that the stranger was no ordinary mortal. "Impressive," Vader intoned, "most impressive." Kratos charged, his blades whirling in deadly arcs. Vader deflected each strike, the lightsaber moving with preternatural speed, but the sheer force behind the stranger's attacks drove him back step by step. The Dark Lord gathered the force around him like a shield, using it to anticipate each move, each strike. Yet something about this warrior disrupted the flow of the force. His rage, his power, they created eddies and currents in the cosmic energy that Vader had never encountered before. It was as though the stranger existed both within and outside the force simultaneously. Vader leapt back, gaining distance, then thrust his hand forward. A massive telekinetic push ripped across the volcanic landscape, shattering rock formations and sending debris flying toward Kratos. The ghost of Sparta planted his feet and endured the onslaught, crossing his blades before him as a shield. Stones broke against his skin, drawing blood that quickly dried in the intense heat. When the barrage ended, Kratos stood bloodied but unbowed. His golden eyes narrowed. "Is that all your sorcery can muster? I have endured worse from children of Olympus." The Spartan closed the distance in a blur of speed, his blades striking with renewed fury. One caught Vader's shoulder armor, cleaving through part of it and revealing the mechanical components beneath. The Dark Lord countered with a precise strike that should have severed Kratos' arm, but the warrior twisted at the last moment, taking only a glancing burn across his skin. They broke apart, circling each other on the cracked obsidian plain. Imperial officers watched from the mining facility's observation deck, transfixed by the sight of their invincible commander, matched by an unknown combatant. "You fight with the desperation of one who fears death," Kratos observed, noting the protective stance Vader had adopted. "Yet you cloak yourself in its trappings. Death is a failure of power," Vader replied. "A limitation I intend to overcome." Kratos spat on the ground. "Then you seek what all gods seek, immortality, freedom from consequence. This makes you no different from those I have destroyed before." The Dark Lord raised his lightsaber again. "You understand nothing of the Force. It binds the galaxy together, flows through all living things. Through the dark side, one can achieve powers considered unnatural." "Power," Kratos growled, readying his blades. "Always power, never wisdom, never peace. This is why gods must fall." They clashed again, their weapons meeting in a flurry of strikes too fast for the human eye to follow. The mining facility's sensors registered energy spikes with each impact, power readings that exceeded their calibrated scales. The very air around the combatants began to shimmer with heat and discharged energy. Vader found himself pressed harder than he had been since his duel with his former master. The stranger matched him not just in strength but in the brutality of his technique. Each strike was all meant to kill, each movement efficient and deadly. There was no wasted motion, no hesitation, only the cold calculus of combat honed through countless battles. Kratos felt the invisible power of the Force attempting to slow him, to bind him, but his godly heritage and his experience fighting beings of cosmic power allowed him to resist. Still, this dark warrior was unlike any he had faced. The mechanical precision of his strikes, the way he seemed to anticipate movements before they happened, and the raw power he channeled through his strange energy sword made him a formidable opponent. They broke apart once more, both assessing the damage they had inflicted. Vader's armor showed multiple gashes and burns where the chain blades had connected. Kratos bore lightsaber burns across his torso and arms, wounds that would have killed or dismembered a normal man. "Your resistance is impressive," Vader acknowledged, "but futile. The power of the dark side is limitless," Kratos sneered. "I have heard such boasts before, from beings far older and more powerful than you. They all bled in the end." The Dark Lord extended both hands, and lightning erupted from his fingertips, arcing across the space between them. Kratos raised his blades, catching the energy on the metal. The pain was intense, reminiscent of Zeus's divine lightning, but he had endured that torment before and survived. With a roar of defiance, Kratos pushed forward against the lightning storm, his muscles straining as he fought through the pain. Step by step, he advanced toward the Sith Lord, his golden eyes blazing with determination. Vader increased the intensity of the dark side lightning, pouring more of his hatred and pain into the attack. The ground beneath them began to crack and splinter from the discharged energy. Magma seeped through the fissures, adding to the hellish landscape. Imperial officers in the distant facility began emergency evacuation protocols as sensors warned of imminent structural failure. When he was mere paces from Vader, Kratos suddenly hurled one of his blades. The chain extended, the blade spinning through the lightning field with such speed that Vader barely had time to cease his attack and deflect it with his lightsaber. In that moment of disruption, Kratos closed the final distance. The Spartan's fist connected with Vader's helmet, the impact sending the Sith Lord flying backward into a rock formation that shattered from the Force. Before Vader could recover, Kratos was upon him, blades whirling in a deadly dance. The Dark Lord's lightsaber moved with blinding speed to parry each strike, but the sheer ferocity of the assault left him no opportunity to counter. A blade slipped past his defense, the chain wrapping around his arm. Kratos pulled with inhuman strength, yanking Vader off balance. His other blade slashed across the Sith Lord's chest plate, leaving a deep gouge in the life support systems. Alarms began to sound within Vader's helmet as damage reports scrolled across his visual display. Vader channeled his pain and anger, using it to fuel a massive force repulse that blasted outward in all directions. Kratos was thrown back, his grip on the chain broken. The Sith Lord rose to his full height, his damaged armor hissing and sparking. "Enough," Vader declared, raising his hand toward the mining facility in the distance. "Your defiance ends now." With a gesture, he tore a massive processing unit from the facility's superstructure. The multi-ton apparatus ripped free in a shower of sparks and twisted metal, hovering in the air before hurtling toward Kratos at devastating speed. The ghost of Sparta stood his ground, gathering his strength. At the last possible moment, he struck the incoming projectile with both blades, their chains extending fully. The processing unit exploded into fragments that rained down across the volcanic plain. Through the debris and smoke, Kratos charged, closing on Vader with blades ready to deliver a cantation, killing blow. The Sith Lord ignited his lightsaber just in time to deflect one blade, but the second slipped past his defense, slashing across his shoulder and damaging the control panel on his chest. Vader's breathing apparatus faltered, the rhythmic sound becoming irregular. He stumbled back, raising his lightsaber in a defensive posture as internal systems attempted to compensate for the damage. Kratos pressed his advantage, his blades striking again and again, forcing the Sith Lord to give ground. "Your machine body fails you," Kratos observed, noting the damage to Vader's life support. "What manner of being requires such artifice to survive?" "One who has sacrificed everything for power," Vader replied, his voice distorted by his damaged vocoder. "As I sense you have as well." Their weapons locked together, faces close enough that Kratos could see his own reflection in the polished surface of Vader's mask. "I sacrificed nothing. It was taken from me by gods who thought themselves beyond consequence. And so you became what you hated," Vader observed, pushing back with renewed strength fueled by the dark side. "As did I." The words struck Kratos with unexpected force. For a moment, his assault faltered as memories flooded back, of Athena's final words to him, of the cycle of betrayal and vengeance that had defined his existence. The momentary distraction was all Vader needed. The Dark Lord channeled the Force into a concentrated blast that struck Kratos directly in the chest, sending him flying backward into a field of jagged obsidian spires. The impact shattered the formations, burying the Spartan beneath tons of volcanic glass and stone. Vader approached cautiously, lightsaber at the ready, his damaged systems struggling to maintain his life functions. The rubble exploded outward as Kratos emerged, bloodied but undaunted. He held not his chain blades now, but appeared to be drawing energy from within himself. A golden aura began to surround him, reminiscent of the Force, yet fundamentally different. "I have died before," Kratos declared, his voice resonating with power. "I have escaped the underworld itself. Your dark magic cannot hold me." He unleashed the power of Sparta's rage, the accumulated fury of his past channeled into devastating physical strength. Vader attempted to create a force barrier, but the Spartan's power smashed through it. Kratos' fist connected with the Sith Lord's helmet, cracking it and exposing part of the scarred face beneath. Vader staggered backward, his damaged helmet revealing a single eye filled with hatred and pain. He recognized something in the stranger now, something beyond the physical threat. This being had walked a path similar to his own, from humanity to monster, from victim to victimizer. "You think me a god," Vader said, his natural voice mixing with the mechanically altered one through the broken helmet. "I am merely a servant of power, as you once were." Kratos hesitated, seeing the ruined flesh beneath the mask, sensing the profound suffering that had shaped this dark warrior. "Who is your master, machine man? What god commands your loyalty?" "The Emperor," Vader replied, gathering the dark side around him once more. "The master of the dark side of the Force. He showed me the path to power when all else was lost to me." "Then he is no different from Zeus or Ares," Kratos declared. "A tyrant who uses others as tools for his ambition, and like them, he will fall." The Sith Lord raised his lightsaber. "You will not live to challenge the Emperor. Your journey ends here, on the world where I was reborn in fire." They clashed again, but the dynamic had shifted. Vader fought with renewed purpose, drawing deeply on the dark side to compensate for his damaged systems. Kratos matched him with the raw power of his rage, each blow threatening to shatter the Sith Lord's defenses. As they fought across the volcanic landscape, the ground began to give way beneath them. Their battle had destabilized the already precarious terrain, causing magma chambers to shift and rupture. The Imperial mining facility in the distance had been fully evacuated, its remaining systems sending automated distress signals to the orbiting Star Destroyer. Neither combatant paid attention to the environmental collapse around them, focused entirely on the deadly dance of their duel. Kratos landed a powerful blow that sent Vader sliding across the obsidian surface toward a newly formed lava pit. The Sith Lord stopped at the edge, the superheated air swirling around him, a memory of pain and failure threatening to overwhelm his concentration. "This world has claimed you before," Kratos observed, noting the reaction. "It seeks to reclaim you now." Vader stood at the precipice, the memories of his defeat on Mustafar momentarily paralyzing him. The stranger was right. This hellish landscape had taken everything from him once before. The flames had burned away Anakin Skywalker, leaving only Darth Vader in his place. He had avoided returning here for years, and now he understood why the Emperor had sent him to investigate personally. It was another test, another opportunity for pain to strengthen his connection to the dark side. "This world gave me rebirth through suffering," Vader declared, turning to face Kratos once more. "As did yours to you." The Spartan's eyes narrowed. "You know nothing of my world or my suffering. I feel it in you," Vader continued, circling away from the lava pit. "The loss, the betrayal, the transformation from man to weapon. We are reflections, you and I, forged in flames of our own making." Kratos charged, his blades striking with renewed fury, but for the first time, Vader sensed a pattern in the chaos of his attacks. The stranger fought with the desperation of one haunted by his past, each blow an attempt to silence the ghosts that pursued him. It was a weakness the Sith Lord understood intimately. The Dark Lord parried a strike and countered with precision, his lightsaber grazing Kratos' side. "You fight against your nature even as you embody it. This contradiction makes you vulnerable." Kratos roared in defiance, his blades whirling faster, chains extending to their full length as he created a maelstrom of deadly metal around himself. Vader retreated strategically, leading the Spartan across the unstable terrain. With each step, he felt the ground weakening beneath them, the magma chambers shifting. The Sith Lord leapt onto a more stable outcropping, gaining the higher ground. Kratos pursued without hesitation, unaware of the trap being laid. As the Spartan landed heavily on the plateau, Vader channeled the force into the fractured rock beneath them. The entire formation began to collapse, dropping both warriors toward a massive lava flow below. Vader used the force to propel himself toward a floating mining platform, landing with mechanical precision despite his damaged systems. Kratos, lacking such abilities, plummeted toward the magma. At the last moment, the ghost of Sparta hurled his blades upward, the chains wrapping around the edge of the mining platform. He swung beneath it, using his momentum to launch himself upward, landing in a combat-ready stance opposite Vader. The platform drifted across the magma sea, carried by automated systems now functioning on emergency protocols. In the distance, Imperial shuttles evacuated the last personnel from the doomed facility as structural integrity failed throughout the installation. "Your empire abandons this world," Kratos observed. "As gods always abandon their creations when challenged." "The empire is vast beyond your comprehension," Vader replied. "This facility is nothing, a speck of dust in a galaxy spanning power." The platform lurched as magma currents buffeted it from below. Both warriors adjusted their stance, never taking their eyes off each other. Steam rose around them as the superheated air met the platform's cooling systems, creating a ghostly arena for their continuing battle. "Tell me of your Emperor," Kratos demanded, circling cautiously on the restricted space. "This master you serve so faithfully." "Emperor Palpatine controls the galaxy through the power of the dark side," Vader explained. "He destroyed the corrupt Republic and the misguided Jedi Order, bringing order to chaos." Kratos spat on the platform's surface, the saliva instantly evaporating in the intense heat. "I have heard such claims before, from Zeus after he overthrew the Titans. All tyrants believe their rule is justice, and all rebels believe their cause is righteous," Vader countered. "Yet they bring only suffering through their resistance." The platform shuddered again as it navigated between volcanic islands. Beneath them, the lava sea churned with increasing violence as the planet responded to the power unleashed by their conflict. In orbit, the Star Destroyer's sensors registered seismic activity approaching critical levels. "Your Emperor," Kratos pressed. "Does he claim dominion over life and death as well? Does he promise immortality to his faithful servants?" Vader hesitated, memories of Palpatine's promises surfacing unbidden. The power to cheat death, to save Padme, had been the lure that drew him to the dark side. A promise unfulfilled. "The dark side is a pathway to many abilities, some consider unnatural," he finally replied, "including the power over life itself." Kratos' expression hardened. "Then he is like all the gods I have destroyed, making promises he cannot keep, offering salvation through subjugation." "You understand nothing of the Force," Vader declared, raising his lightsaber once more. "I understand tyranny," Kratos countered. "I understand the arrogance of those who fashion themselves as masters of fate. Your Emperor is no different from Zeus or Ares or Hades, and like them, his reign will end." They clashed again on the confined space of the platform, their weapons moving with blinding speed as fiver. They sought openings in each other's defense. The platform's surface began to glow red from the heat generated by their combat, its cooling systems overwhelmed. Vader drove Kratos back toward the edge with a series of precise strikes, each blow calculated to force the Spartan into a vulnerable position. The Ghost of Sparta adapted his fighting style to the restricted terrain, using shorter, more controlled movements with his chain blades. "You learn quickly," Vader observed, "but adaptation will not save you. The dark side grows stronger with each moment." Kratos felt it, the strange energy field intensifying around them, drawn to the Sith Lord's hatred and pain like moths to flame. It reminded him of the divine power that had surrounded the Olympians, a cosmic force that bent reality to their will. But this was different, more pervasive, as if it existed in all things simultaneously. "Your dark side is but one aspect of a greater power," Kratos replied, deflecting a thrust aimed at his throat. "I sense another side to this force, one that opposes you." Vader pressed his attack, his damaged armor restricting his movement, but his connection to the dark side compensating for the limitation. "The light side is weak, constrained by compassion and restraint. The dark side embraces the full spectrum of power." "As Ares embraced war without honor," Kratos countered. "As Hades embraced death without purpose, power without wisdom is merely destruction." Their weapons locked again, the energy discharges causing the platform's systems to fluctuate. Warning lights activated across its surface as structural integrity began to fail. Neither warrior paid attention to the danger, focused entirely on each other. "You speak of wisdom," Vader said, pushing against Kratos' strength. "Yet your path has led you here, to a world you do not understand, facing powers beyond your experience." "I have faced gods and titans," Kratos growled. "I have toppled Olympus itself. Your sorcery, your empire, your emperor, they are nothing compared to what I have destroyed before." With a sudden surge of strength, Kratos broke the weapon lock and struck with both blades simultaneously. Vader deflected one, but the other sliced through his cape and scored a deep gouge in his back armor. The Sith Lord staggered, system alarms blaring in his helmet as more life support functions failed. Kratos pressed his advantage, his blades striking in a relentless pattern designed to overwhelm his opponent's defense. Vader retreated strategically, using the Force to hurl debris from the deteriorating platform at the advancing Spartan. Kratos batted the projectiles aside without slowing his assault. The platform lurched violently as one of its repulsor lifts failed, causing both warriors to momentarily lose their balance. Vader recovered first, channeling the Force to stabilize himself. He thrust his hand forward, sending a massive force push toward Kratos. The Spartan crossed his blades before him, anchoring his feet to the platform's surface through sheer strength. The invisible energy washed over him, pushing him back several paces but failing to send him over the edge. Kratos lowered his blades, golden eyes narrowed in determination. "Enough games," he declared. "It is time to end this." Kratos sheathed his chain blades and reached behind his back, drawing a different weapon. The Leviathan axe materialized in his grip, its blade gleaming with frost despite the infernal heat surrounding them. The temperature on the platform dropped precipitously as ancient Nordic magic conflicted with Mustafa's natural environment. Vader sensed the change immediately, the new weapon resonating differently in the Force. It carried an energy signature unlike anything in his experience, a cold power that seemed to draw strength from realms beyond the galaxy he knew. The Spartan hurled the axe with devastating force. Vader raised his lightsaber to deflect it, but the axe's trajectory changed. In mid-flight, curving around his defense, it struck the Sith Lord's shoulder, the freezing blade penetrating armor and mechanical components alike. Ice formed instantly around the wound, systems failing as critical connections froze and shattered. Vader fell to one knee, his right arm temporarily immobilized by the spreading frost. With a gesture of his hand, Kratos recalled the Leviathan axe, the weapon returning to his grip through mystical bonds that transcended physical space. Impossible, Vader gasped, his breathing apparatus struggling to function as ice crystals formed within its mechanisms. "I have walked between worlds before," Kratos stated, advancing with the axe held ready. "Your technology, your force, they are but different forms of the same power I have encountered and overcome." Vader thrust his functional hand forward, sending a barrage of force lightning toward the Spartan. Kratos raised the Leviathan axe, its enchanted blade absorbing the dark energy. Frost and lightning merged in a spectacular display of conflicting powers, the platform beneath them beginning to crack from the stress. The Sith Lord rose to his feet, drawing deeply on the dark side to overcome the damage to his systems. His lightsaber hummed with deadly intent as he prepared for what might be his final stand. The cold power of the axe had affected him more profoundly than he would admit, its nature so alien to the Force that it disrupted his connection to the cosmic energy. Kratos charged, the Leviathan axe leading his assault. Vader met him with precisely timed strikes, their weapons clashing in a blur of motion. Each impact released bursts of conflicting energy, steam and ice, and electrical discharges creating a tempestuous environment around them. The platform's remaining systems failed catastrophically, the structure beginning to sink toward the magma sea below. Neither warrior paid it any mind, their focus absolute, as they sought to end their duel decisively. Kratos feinted with the axe, then suddenly switched back to his blades of chaos, the unexpected change in weapons catching Vader momentarily off guard. One of the blades slipped past his defense, the chain wrapping around his lightsaber arm. With a powerful pull, Kratos yanked the Sith Lord off balance. Vader countered by channeling the Force through his body, sending a wave of dark energy along the chain toward Kratos. The Spartan released the chain just in time, avoiding the brunt of the attack. He immediately hurled the Leviathan axe again, its enchanted blade seeking Vader's damaged life support systems with uncanny precision. The Sith Lord deflected the axe with his lightsaber, the impact sending him sliding across the disintegrating platform. Both warriors now stood on sections that had begun to separate, the molten sea visible between the widening gaps. "Your resistance is admirable," Vader acknowledged, "but futile. Even if you defeat me, the Empire will hunt you to the edges of the galaxy." "Let them come," Kratos replied, recalling his axe. "I have brought down kingdoms and pantheons before. Your empire will be no different." The platform sections they stood upon finally broke apart completely, dropping toward the magma sea. Vader used the Force to propel himself toward a nearby rock formation, landing with mechanical precision despite his damaged systems. Kratos hurled his blades toward an overhead mining cable, the chains wrapping securely around the metal. He swung across the magma flow, landing on solid ground opposite Vader. They faced each other across the river of molten rock, two titans forged in suffering and power. The air between them shimmered with heat and discharged energy, the planet itself seeming to react to their conflict. "This confrontation need not end in your destruction," Vader declared, his damaged vocoder giving his voice an even more mechanical quality. "Your power would be an asset to the Empire, to the Emperor himself." Kratos spat on the ground. "I serve no master, not anymore. Gods, emperors, titans, they are all the same. Tyrants who must be destroyed." "Then you have chosen death," Vader replied, raising his lightsaber in salute. "For to oppose the Emperor is to embrace oblivion." The Sith Lord turned and strode toward his shuttle, which had repositioned to a stable landing zone nearby. His damaged systems required immediate attention, and he recognized that this conflict would not be resolved in a single battle. The stranger represented a threat unlike any the Empire had encountered before, one that the Emperor needed to be informed of personally. Kratos watched him go, measuring the distance to the shuttle, calculating whether he could close the gap before the Dark Warrior escaped. Before he could decide, the ground beneath him shuddered violently. The planet's reaction to their battle had triggered a massive seismic event, one that threatened to tear the entire region apart. The Spartan looked toward the Imperial mining facility in the distance, now fully engulfed in lava and collapsing into the planet's molten core. The shuttle lifted off, its engines glowing against the ash-filled sky as it ascended toward orbit. Within moments, it had disappeared from sight, leaving Kratos alone on the disintegrating landscape. He turned his attention to his surroundings, seeking stable ground as magma fountains erupted across the plain. This world of fire reminded him of the underworld, of Hades' realm with its rivers of souls and fields of torment. He had escaped such places before, and he would do so again. In orbit above Mustafar, Darth Vader's shuttle docked with the Imperial Star Destroyer Executor. Medical droids immediately attended to his damaged armor and life support systems, while officers awaited his command with poorly concealed apprehension. "Set course for Coruscant," Vader ordered as the medical droids worked. "The Emperor must be informed of this development immediately." "Yes, my lord," the captain replied, bowing deeply. "What of the mining facility and the anomaly?" Vader turned his masked gaze toward the viewport, where Mustafar's fiery surface was visible. Massive eruptions had begun to spread across the southern hemisphere, the planet's reaction to the power unleashed during his confrontation with the stranger. "Deploy probe droids to monitor the situation," he commanded. "If the stranger survives, I want to know immediately. And if he attempts to leave the planet, my lord." Vader considered this for a moment. "Do not engage. Report directly to me. This being is beyond your capability to contain." The Star Destroyer's engines flared to life, the massive vessel turning away from Mustafar as it prepared to jump to hyperspace. In his meditation chamber, Vader replayed the battle in his mind, analyzing each moment, each exchange. The stranger's weapons, his fighting style, the cold power of that axe that had so effectively countered his lightsaber, all of it pointed to origins outside the known galaxy. More concerning was the stranger's apparent immunity to certain aspects of the Force. While not completely resistant, he had broken free of Force grips that should have been inescapable, had withstood Force lightning that would have incapacitated even the most powerful Jedi. And his talk of gods and titans, of having toppled entire pantheons, suggested a being whose experience with cosmic power rivaled even the most ancient Sith. The Emperor would be most interested indeed. On Mustafar's surface, Kratos navigated the collapsing landscape with the skill of one accustomed to traversing hostile environments. The chain blades served him well, allowing him to swing across chasms and climb sheer cliffs as he sought higher ground away from the spreading destruction. As he reached a stable plateau overlooking the devastation, he paused to survey his surroundings. In the distance, beyond the ash clouds and rivers of magma, he could make out structures unlike any he had seen in his world. Metal towers that reached toward the sky, automated mining operations that functioned without human oversight, and in orbit, the faint outlines of massive ships that dwarfed anything constructed by mortal hands in his realm. This was not Olympus, not the underworld, not any plane of existence he had encountered before. Yet the patterns were familiar. Beings of great power ruling through fear and subjugation, enforcing their will through servants like the black-armored warrior he had fought. An empire spanning not just a world but countless worlds, if the warrior's boasts were to be believed. and at its center, an emperor who dabbled in power over life and death, who promised immortality to his followers. A god by another name, Kratos had toppled gods before. He had ended the reign of Zeus himself, had brought Olympus crashing down through sheer determination and rage. This empire, this emperor, they were but new names for old tyrannies, and he would bring them down as he had all the others. He raised his head toward the stars, visible through breaks in the ash clouds. Somewhere among them lay the center of this empire, the throne of this self-styled master of life and death. Somewhere among them, a new war awaited, a new vengeance to be fulfilled. The ghost of Sparta smiled grimly. He had found purpose in this strange new realm, and where Kratos found purpose, devastation inevitably followed. Days passed as Kratos explored the remains of the Imperial facility, scavenging technology and studying the strange devices left behind in the hasty evacuation. He discovered data terminals with star charts, histories, records of Imperial conquests across a galaxy of unimaginable size. The scale of this empire dwarfed anything in his experience, spanning thousands of worlds across vast cosmic distances. Yet patterns emerged that were familiar to him. The rise of the Emperor through deception and betrayal, the elimination of those who opposed him, the establishment of rule through fear and overwhelming force. It was the story of Zeus after the fall of the Titans, of Ares in his quest for dominance, of every tyrant who fashioned themselves a god. Most interesting were the fragments of information about the Force, this cosmic energy that the Dark Warrior had wielded with such precision. It flowed through all living things, binding the galaxy together, capable of being channeled by those sensitive to its currents. The Jedi had once been its guardians, using its light side to maintain peace and justice. The Sith, followers of the dark side, sought dominance through passion and power. Both orders spoke of prophecies, of balance, of destiny woven into the fabric of existence itself. It reminded Kratos of the fates, of the tapestry of destiny that he had ultimately destroyed in his war against Olympus. These Force users believed themselves bound by cosmic will, just as the gods of his world had believed themselves subject to fate until he proved otherwise. As he absorbed this knowledge, Kratos sensed a presence approaching. Not the Dark Warrior returning, but something else, something that resonated differently in this strange realm. He gathered his weapons and moved to higher ground, watching as a small ship navigated the still turbulent atmosphere to land on a relatively stable section of rock not far from his position. The vessel was sleeker than the Imperial designs he had observed, its lines more organic, its purpose clearly speed and maneuverability rather than intimidation. The ramp lowered, and a hooded figure emerged, scanning the devastated landscape with cautious movements. Kratos observed from his elevated position, noting that the newcomer carried no visible weapons yet moved with the confidence of a warrior. There was something in the way this being connected to the environment, a harmony that contrasted sharply with the dominating presence of the Dark Warrior he had fought before. The hooded figure stopped, head tilting as if listening to something beyond normal hearing. Slowly, deliberately, they turned to look directly at Kratos' hiding place, despite the considerable distance and the visual camouflage provided by the volcanic terrain. "I mean you no harm," the figure called out, voice carrying clearly despite the wind and the rumbling of the still unsettled planet. "I sensed your presence in the Force, a disruption unlike anything I have encountered before." Kratos remained motionless, evaluating this new potential threat. The being below showed no signs of aggression, but he had learned through bitter experience that appearances were often deceiving. Gods came in many forms, and their servants were masters of manipulation. "I know you fought Vader," the figure continued, lowering their hood to reveal the face of a human male, weathered by age and experience. No small feat. Few have faced the Dark Lord of the Sith and lived to tell of it. The name confirmed what Kratos had gleaned from the Imperial records. Darth Vader, once a Jedi named Anakin Skywalker, now the Emperor's enforcer and apprentice in the ways of the dark side. A being remade through suffering, just as Kratos himself had been. "I am Ahsoka Tano," The figure introduced herself, and Kratos realized his mistake, recognizing now that the human was female, her alien features having momentarily confused him. White facial markings contrasted with her orange skin, and what he had taken for hair were actually headtails, marking her as a species unknown in his world. I was once a Jedi, though I walk a different path now. Kratos considered his options. This being claimed connection to the cosmic force that Vader had wielded, yet she seemed different, her presence lacking the corrosive hatred that had surrounded the Sith Lord. She might provide valuable information about this galaxy and the power structures that governed it. He emerged from his concealment, descending the rocky slope with measured steps, weapons ready but not brandished threateningly. The alien woman watched his approach with calm assessment, her posture shifting subtly into what he recognized as a defensive stance disguised as relaxation. A warrior's caution, familiar across worlds. "You are not of this galaxy," she observed as he drew closer. "Your presence in the Force is unlike anything in the archives or my experience. You exist within it, yet somehow apart from it simultaneously. I know nothing of your Force," Kratos replied, stopping at a distance that would allow him to react if she proved hostile. "I am Kratos of Sparta, once the ghost of Sparta, slayer of gods and titans." Ahsoka's expression revealed nothing, but he sensed her measuring the truth of his words. "Gods and titans," she repeated. "Interesting. The Force has many names across the galaxy, and those who wield it have been called many things by those who do not understand its nature." The one called Vader spoke similarly, Kratos noted. "Claiming this Force binds all things, grants power to those who can channel it. The arrogance of gods by another name. Vader and his master have perverted the true nature of the Force," Ahsoka replied, a hint of sadness entering her voice. "The dark side consumes those who embrace it, promising power while demanding everything in return. But the Force itself is neither good nor evil. It simply is, like the air or water." Kratos scoffed. "I have heard such claims before, from Athena and others who sought to manipulate me for their own ends. Power corrupts, regardless of its source or name. Not all who touch the Force are corrupted," she countered. "For generations the Jedi used its light to protect the innocent and maintain peace. Until they failed," Kratos observed. "Your empire rose, your emperor conquered, and these Jedi fell. Protection proved temporary, peace illusory. As it always is when mortals wield the power of gods." Ahsoka studied him with increasing interest. "You speak from experience, I sense. You have walked a path of vengeance and destruction. I see it in the way you carry yourself, in the scars both visible and hidden." Kratos fell silent, unwilling to share his past with this stranger, regardless of how perceptive she might be. Yet something about her directness resonated with him, a quality that reminded him of Athena before her betrayal, of Lysandra in her unflinching honesty. "What do you want of me?" he finally asked. "Why seek me out in this wasteland?" "Because you represent something new in a very old conflict," she replied. "The struggle between the light and dark sides of the Force has raged for millennia, with the galaxy caught in the crossfire. But you, an outsider untouched by our philosophies and limitations, might change the course of that struggle." Kratos' eyes narrowed suspiciously. "You seek to use me as a weapon against your enemies. I have been a tool for the ambitions of gods before, never again." "Not a weapon," Ahsoka corrected. "A catalyst, perhaps. Or simply a wild card in a game where all other moves have been foreseen by both sides." She gestured to the devastation around them. "Your battle with Vader has already sent ripples through the Force. The Emperor will sense this disturbance, will seek to either eliminate or control you, and there are others who will take interest as well." "Let them come," Kratos declared. "I fear neither your Emperor nor any who serve him. Fear is not the issue," Ahsoka said. "Understanding is. You have entered a galaxy in the grip of tyranny enforced through technological terror and dark side sorcery. Billions suffer under imperial rule while a scattered resistance fights against overwhelming odds. Without knowledge of this realm, You risk becoming just another casualty in a war you barely comprehend. The Spartan considered her words. There was wisdom in them. A pragmatic assessment that aligned with his own experiences of navigating unfamiliar realms in his campaigns against the gods. Knowledge was a weapon as surely as his blades. "What do you propose?" he asked. "Come with me," she offered. "My ship can take us off-world before Imperial forces return in greater numbers. I have allies who would value your strength, and in exchange, we can provide information about the Empire, about the Force, about this galaxy you now find yourself in." "These allies," Kratos pressed, "do they seek to replace one tyrant with another? To claim the Emperor's throne for themselves?" "They seek freedom," Ahsoka replied. "The restoration of the Republic that the Emperor destroyed, a galaxy where worlds govern themselves without imperial oppression." Kratos had heard such idealistic claims before, from those who opposed Zeus only to covet his power for themselves. Yet he needed information, needed to understand this strange realm before he could effectively act against its gods. "I will accompany you," he decided, "but I serve no master, join no cause. My path is my own." Ahsoka nodded, accepting his terms. "Fair enough. The Rebel Alliance needs all the help it can get, on whatever terms it comes." She gestured toward her ship. "We should leave soon. Imperial probe droids have been monitoring the region. It won't be long before Star Destroyers arrive to investigate further." As they walked toward the vessel, Kratos studied the alien woman more carefully. Her movements confirmed his initial assessment, a lifetime of combat training evidenced in every step. She carried herself with the confidence of one who had faced death many times and survived, yet without the arrogance that often accompanied such experience. "This Vader," he said as they reached the ship's ramp. "You know him." It wasn't a question, and Ahsoka didn't treat it as one. "I knew who he was before, yes. Anakin Skywalker was my master when I was a Jedi Padawan. A great warrior, a hero of the Republic." Her voice carried complex emotions, layers of grief and regret. The dark side consumed him, transformed him into the Emperor's enforcer. Now he exists as much machine as man, sustained by hatred and the dark side's power. Kratos recognized the pain in her words, the special anguish reserved for betrayal by those closest to you. It was a pain he knew intimately, had carried since Zeus's treachery, since Athena's final revelation. "And your Emperor?" he pressed. "What manner of being is he?" "Darth Sidious," Ahsoka replied as they entered the ship, "is perhaps the most powerful Sith Lord to ever exist. He orchestrated the Clone Wars, corrupted Anakin, and executed the near extinction of the Jedi Order, all while hiding in plain sight as Chancellor Palpatine of the Republic. His mastery of the dark side is unparalleled, his foresight and cunning beyond measure." The ship's interior was functional but comfortable, designed for extended travel with minimal crew. Ahsoka moved to the cockpit, beginning pre-flight sequences with practiced efficiency. Kratos remained standing, unwilling to relax his vigilance in this unfamiliar environment. "And where do we go now?" he asked as the ship's engines hummed to life. "To a hidden base," she replied, "one of many scattered throughout the Outer Rim. From there, we can contact allies who will want to meet you." She glanced at him. "You might want to secure yourself. The transition to hyperspace can be disorienting for first-time travelers." Kratos braced himself against the bulkhead as the ship lifted off, rising quickly through Mustafa's turbulent atmosphere. Through the viewport, he watched the hellish landscape recede, its rivers of magma and fields of black glass growing smaller until they disappeared entirely, replaced by the star-filled void of space. The ship accelerated away from the volcanic world, and Ahsoka's hands moved across the navigation controls. "Preparing for hyperspace jump," she announced. "This might feel strange." Before Kratos could respond, the stars outside elongated into streaks of light, and the ship lurched forward with impossible speed. The ghost of Sparta felt a momentary disorientation, his warrior's instincts struggling to adapt to this form of travel that defied his understanding of distance and time. When the sensation passed, he found himself looking out at a swirling tunnel of blue-white energy, a cosmic pathway unlike anything in his experience. They had left normal space behind, traveling through some realm between worlds that compressed vast distances into manageable journeys. Hyperspace, Ahsoka explained, noting his interest. It allows us to travel faster than light, crossing the galaxy in days rather than lifetimes. Kratos nodded, absorbing this information along with everything else he had learned since awakening on Mustafar. A galaxy of countless worlds, a cosmic force that bound them together, an empire that spanned the stars, and at its center, an emperor with powers reminiscent of the gods he had destroyed before. He had come to this realm through means he did not yet understand, had been thrust into a conflict not of his making. But perhaps there was purpose in it, a chance to end another pantheon of false gods who claimed dominion over the lives of mortals. The ghost of Sparta had toppled Olympus itself. This empire, this emperor, would learn that even gods could bleed, could die, could fall before his rage. As the ship hurtled through hyperspace toward unknown destinations, Kratos allowed himself a grim smile. A new war awaited, a new vengeance to be fulfilled. And where Kratos walked, the reign of gods inevitably ended in blood and fire.